Hi, Katzcradul here. Are you the single man who always gets teased when you go to a family reunion empty-handed because you really don't know how to cook anything? Are you a newly married woman who is tired of hearing your husband go on and on and on about how fabulous his mother's cooking is? Are you tired of having Aunt Ruth walk into the family Christmas dinner always carrying the pie that everyone raves about while yours sits on the sideboard untouched? Well, not anymore. You're going to be the rock star at the next family gathering. In fact, no matter where you take this pie, it'll be a hit. If you taste it and you really like it, you better make a second one to leave at home, because I guarantee wherever you take it, you will not come home with any left. You will come home with an empty pie plate, and people will rave about this dessert. In my family, we call it carpet pie. When I was a little girl, my aunt and her daughter lived in a garage apartment, and it really needed new carpet. Luckily, a local carpet merchant was holding a recipe contest, and the prize was several rooms of free carpet. My aunt entered this recipe and she won. Fast forward about 45 years, and I decided to enter this recipe in a pie baking contest, and I won as well. The prize for my contest was a $40 designer pie plate, and I love having it and love having duplicated her success with winning the contest. In fact, the judge in my contest were about 4 or 5 men, and one of them, who is a friend of mine, who told me after the contest was over, he said, the head judge said, "Why don't we just take this pie and run out the back door and go eat it?" Because after the judging, they were going to make the pies available for everyone to taste. But they said they tasted the other pies, but they knew after they tasted mine that it was going to be a winner hands down. And it's true. This is a delicious pie. Anyone can bake this pie. It only has a few ingredients, and it is so simple to make. It doesn't take any advanced techniques at all. You first start with a pre-baked pie crust. You just follow the directions. You can use a ready-made pie crust. Just follow the directions on how to bake it. So you just need to make sure that your pie crust is absolutely cool before you begin assembling the pie. I'll post the complete recipe for you and the instructions for making it in the Show More section below the video. So don't worry about trying to listen to ingredients and that kind of thing. Just follow along with what I'm doing, and then you can go pick up the recipe as soon as you finish watching the video. So let's get started. It only takes a few ingredients. In my large bowl, I have on the left powdered sugar, and on the right, cream cheese, and then down at the bottom, I don't think you can see it too well, but there is a little bit of vanilla in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to beat these until they're thoroughly combined. I'm using a handheld mixer here and an oversized bowl. I'm known to make a mess, and you can see how this is just flying around, and especially with something as light and flyaway as powdered sugar, I want to be sure to keep it contained in my bowl. That's a really good tip for those of you who are new to baking. Use a bigger bowl than you think you'll need. And that's how it looks, just the 3 ingredients, the powdered sugar, cream cheese, and vanilla. Now I'm going to add 3 cups of whipped topping or whipped cream. In fact, the original recipe called for Dream Whip, which was a whipping mix that was in a packet. I think you can still buy it at the grocery store. For me, it's just as easy to use Spiffy Whip, which I always have on hand. You've probably heard me talk about that in other videos. Or use a whip topping like Cool Whip if you like that, or use that. Or you can just whip up 3 cups of whipping cream to incorporate in here. Any of those will work just fine. So let's move over to the table and assemble this pie. Here's my pie weights. These are pinto beans I used to weight down my pie crust when I baked it. If you want to know what that's all about, just go to the link posted here in the top left corner of the picture, and I'll show you how to bake off a pie crust. So here are the rest of the ingredients. They're very, very straightforward. 3 medium-sized bananas. I find that's always enough. A can of blueberry pie filling, and then the whipped concoction we just made. So I'm just going to take the strings off my banana and begin cutting the banana directly onto the pie shell floor. At first, I just cut up that whole banana, the first whole banana. And I began arranging the bananas on the floor of the pie shell first, making sure that it's completely covered. And then as I get a chance, I start lining them up the side of the pie shell so that the shell is pretty much completely covered except about the top 1/2 inch up the sides. And just keep working them in. I cut the slices about 1/4 inch thick, just slightly less, and just make room so that you can get them, so that you can get the shell completely covered. Takes a little manipulating, but not too long. That looks pretty good. Maybe I can squeeze one in right there on the side. Good. All right. So there you have it. And now I'm going to take about half of the whipped ingredients and just plop them right there in the middle of the crust. There you go. Maybe just a tad more. All right, and I'm just going to spread that out, making sure it goes all the way to the edge and that it's pretty even. That doesn't take very long. The next thing you do is you put slightly more than half of the can of blueberry pie filling on top of the cream cheese whipped cream mixture. And all I'm going to do is this is very easy, just push it out to the sides of the pie shell. There we go. Trying to get it covered. All right. And now I'm going to slice another little pile of bananas. Actually, I'm going to lay a few down first to get me a little platform to work on here. I'll just place 4 or 5 slices. And then I do like before, I just slice a big old pile of them. I just want to be careful not to get the blueberry pie filling all over them before I have them placed, or else it gets to be kind of a mess. So there you go. And you've seen me do this before. Just spread them all out until the blueberry pie filling is completely covered. It usually will take all 3 bananas. So I'm just squeezing them in here. It's really important to get that blueberry pie filling covered because that's kind of when I'm going to put the rest of the whipped topping on there, and it's kind of like bananas floating on a sea of blueberries, so it's just a little tricky because it's a little soft. And I'm not going to do this quite the same. I don't plop one big old dab of that cream mixture in the center. I go ahead and make little mounds of it all over the surface of the bananas. So I just keep making little mounds of it, scraping my bowl as best I can and try to get it evenly dispersed, because now what I'm going to do is play a simple game of connect the dots. What I'm going to do is connect the mounds together in order to cover the pie. It's a little tricky if you have it in one big old blob in the center to get it spread all the way out to the edges. And that is my goal, is to push it out to the pie crust as soon as I can, because once it makes contact with the crust, it seems to hold a lot better. So you can see me kind of racing to get over there to the crust. You could use an offset spatula for this because it would keep you from getting cream up on the pie crust where you really don't want it at this point. However, most offset spatulas are just slightly flimsy. They're just a little bit flexible, and they're meant to be that way. And you have to kind of talk to this whipped topping because it's a little bit thicker than like traditional icing or just whipped cream would be. It's a little stiffer, so you've kind of got to persuade it with a little bit of a stronger knife. That's why I use that instead of the offset spatula. So let's just cover up the last few little holes there. You want it completely covered. And then you can go back to the center and kind of smooth it and make it even. You see how I picked up a little dollop of it there and drug it over to where I need it? Just look at where the thick spots are and pull them over to where it's thin. That looks pretty good. It does not have to be perfectly smooth. And then the last step is to put the rest of the blueberry pie filling on top. And I don't want to cover this entire pie for several reasons. One is that if it's completely covered with blueberries, somebody like me might think it's a blueberry pie and not be interested in it, because I would not particularly like that. I want them to be able to see something creamy and delicious below. The other reason is I just kind of want to look very casual, like maybe a can of blueberry pie filling just dripped on this pie. I like the way it looks a lot better. I think it's a little more artistic. Also, it's much easier to wrap if you need to put saran wrap on it. You're still going to get blueberry pie filling on the saran wrap, but that's okay. What I usually do is just put a cake saver over the top of this and put it in my refrigerator. Okay, let's clean up my mess there. That's how it looks. It's a beautiful pie, and you can see how simple it is to make. Let's cut a slice here. It's really easy. Look how creamy. I let this sit overnight in the refrigerator, and so this is the next day, and it sets up. You want the creamy filling part to firm up just a bit. Look how beautiful that is. And it's divine. Let's listen to what my family says. All right, I'd like for you to take a taste. Right, here you go. Wow, that's really good. Paladin Prepper, you want to try?
Sure do. That is always delicious. Thanks for making it.
There you go. Blueberry banana cream pie. It is creamy, fruity, light, delicious. Better than that, it's easy to make, and it doesn't take very many ingredients. Most of them you can have on hand. Cream cheese, blueberry pie filling. You can even have a ready-made pie crust, and then all you would need to pick up the next time you're at the store is either some whipped topping or some whipping cream and a few bananas. Really easy to make. You take it to your next family gathering and let me know if you're not the rock star. Until next time, this is Katzcradul.